Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a deeply personal, incredibly insightful, and profoundly Christian reflection on how our innate human curiosity actually shapes our relationship with God. Tell me, have you ever felt like your questions were just a burden? Or maybe you've worried that your doubts and endless inquiries were somehow a sign of weak faith? Well, today we are going to completely dismantle that idea. We're looking at a fascinating piece of source material that re-examines the intersection of lifelong curiosity, the often stifling rules of the adult world, and the true loving nature of the Creator. As you'll see, being a problem student might actually be exactly what God desires from us. All right, let's kick things off with a quote that honestly might hit a little close to home for some of us. The author recalls their childhood teachers snapping at them, saying, "You ask too many questions." This instantly highlights how society, and especially traditional educational settings, so often views an inquisitive mind as a massive annoyance rather than a gift. Our author reflects on having this strange, totally unquenchable thirst for knowledge as a kid, which was amplified by ADHD, meaning they literally never felt embarrassed to just keep raising their hand in class. But that raw, beautiful curiosity was met with harsh pushback. It's a moment most of us can probably relate to in some form, right? That sudden, chilling realization that the world often prefers our silence over our curiosity. Section 1. Suppressed curiosity. You know, as we grow up, our natural, God-given instinct to ask questions gets systematically stifled. And the tragedy is, we often become the very people who once shut us down. There's this fascinating, almost heartbreaking generational echo here. The author notices that this exact same questioning gene has been passed right down to their 7-year-old daughter. Her little head is just full of endless question marks, constantly breaking the mold to get to the bottom of things. But here's the crazy twist. The author catches themselves giving the exact same dismissive responses they hated as a child. When they're just too tired or lazy to answer, they tell her, "Don't ask so much, you'll know when you grow up." It brilliantly, and kind of tragically, illustrates how the author passed down the exact same dismissive model they suffered from. They became the very teacher they couldn't forget. So, why does this happen to us? Well, think about the adult world's rulebook. Asking too many questions, or saying too much, is often viewed as a glaring sign of immaturity. The source text notes that over 24 years of living in America, the author learned a harsh secular lesson. If you have a problem, figure it out yourself. Do not bother others. The crucial point here is that they learned to just bottle up their questions and treat their innate curiosity as a character flaw. That old proverb about not being ashamed to ask and learn? Yeah, that was completely tossed out the window in favor of total, isolated self-reliance.
Section 2. The God Who Asks.
But here's where we completely flip that secular script on how questions are valued. We're going to look at the ultimate authority on the matter and see how a true relationship with the divine contrasts sharply with those rigid adult rules. This contrast perfectly sets up the paradox at the heart of this explainer. The secular world tells us to pipe down, stop asking, and figure everything out completely alone. But the creator of the universe takes the exact opposite approach. After years of being a believer, the author realizes they have this massive, pent-up inventory of questions saved up for God. And unlike the secular world, which rolls its eyes and asks, "Why are you asking so much?" the creator actually desires this level of curious engagement from us. He wants our questions. And even more surprisingly, he really likes to ask questions of his own. This brilliantly illustrates that God himself is deeply inquisitive. Just consider the foundational question right there in Genesis 2:9, "Where are you?" It's the irresistible eternal question mark from God to humanity. The text emphasizes that no matter what role we're playing on any given day, whether you're being a husband, a father, a friend, or a preacher, no matter what we do or where we go, God demands a heartfelt response from us. He's constantly asking for our spiritual location, engaging us directly and inviting us into this dynamic, living conversation. So what kind of response is he actually looking for? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a stiff, formal status report. The author uses a beautiful metaphor here. God desires a relationship exactly like newlyweds. Think about that level of intense engagement. Newlyweds are completely tuned into one another, affectionately and eagerly responding to each other with a heartfelt honey for every little thing. God doesn't want robotic, dutiful prayers. He's looking for a genuine, wholehearted dialogue. He wants us to engage with him with the exact same total dedication and enthusiasm as someone entirely devoted to their new spouse.
Section 3. True Meaning of Omniscience.
Now, this realization leads us right into a bit of heavy theology, because we need to reframe how we view God's all-knowing nature. Think about it. If God knows everything, why on earth does he need to ask us questions? Well, let's establish these core theological concepts first.
The text points to the three omnis: omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. This basically means God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere at once. Therefore, he already perfectly knows the exact positioning of our hearts. So when he asks, "Where are you?" he isn't asking because he misplaced his GPS or lacks information. He's asking because he wants the connection. He just wants to hear that sweet, heartfelt honey in response. He wants our willing participation in the relationship.
To really wrap our heads around this, the author uses this incredibly vivid, transparent fishbowl metaphor. In God's eyes, we're like fish swimming in a completely transparent bowl. The Creator has a 360-degree, all-encompassing view of us. Drawing directly from Psalm 139, the text notes that God knows when we sit, when we rise, when we walk, and when we lie down. There is absolutely nowhere we can hide and nowhere we can flee from His presence. He has total, undeniable visibility into every single aspect of our lives.
Okay, let's just pause here for a second. I really want you to reflect on this. Does being completely known, swimming in that transparent fishbowl where you can't hide anything, does that feel comforting? Or does it feel, honestly, a bit aggressive? Does the idea of an all-knowing, ever-present God feel like a warm hug, or does it feel like you're under 24/7 surveillance? The author admits that at first glance, this can feel deeply uncomfortable. I mean, nobody likes the feeling of being forced into year-round monitoring. It can easily feel like you're being micromanaged by the universe itself. But here, right here, is where the beautiful reframing happens. If you give God a chance to explain, and you keep reading that psalm, you hit verse 10. Even there your hand will guide me, your right hand will hold me fast. This scripture proves God's true intention isn't to be some nosy outsider spying on us. It's not surveillance to catch you making a mistake. Rather, it's to offer the tender, guiding protection of motherly care. He watches us so closely because he wants to gently guide and support us at every single moment.
Section 4, a lifelong problem student. Once we truly understand the nature of God's omniscience, it changes absolutely everything about how we should approach Him, and this builds to a life-changing conclusion for our faith journey. The crucial takeaway is this: once we realize that God's constant presence is entirely about guidance and support, we realize that no amount of questions will ever be considered a burden to Him. He isn't the exhausted adult or the frustrated childhood teacher telling you to stop asking. Because we have this premise of a God who deeply, tenderly loves and supports us, we should literally never suppress our spiritual curiosity. He has infinite patience for our infinite questions. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty massive question to chew on. If you stop asking questions, if you just give up your curiosity to fit neatly into the secular adult world, will you actually miss the fact that He loves you? The author decided, based entirely on God's incredible love, that they would happily spend their entire life being God's problem student. So are you willing to be a problem student too? Are you actually shutting the door on experiencing the true depth of His love by keeping your questions to yourself? Keep asking, keep seeking, and keep engaging with the Creator. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I truly hope it sparks a renewed, fearless curiosity in your own spiritual journey.